Hello there, Sarah from 17 once again. This is my Bayonetta Hard Pure Platinum run. This is Chapter 12, The Broken Sky. This is a hard Chapter 2. Like, at the beginning when I was playing through it, I was getting the Pure Platinums first attempt, you know, having a really good time, and then I missed an Alfheim, so I was like, bollocks, had to restart. Then, the Alfheim I missed turned out to be really, really hard, and then when I finally did that, there's a Gene fight that is also really hard, and the irony is, it took me a while to no damage the Gene fight, and when I did, I failed the stylish requirement. So not only was it a fight that was very challenging, but it was also a fight where I had to score high and not get hurt, and the combination is ruthless and so challenging. But the thing that bugs me on this plane is the platforming. Don't get me wrong, I think Bayonetta has perfect platforming. I don't think they could have done it any better. It's just, there's nothing more frustrating than falling off and ruining a rank. And it's one of those things where it's entirely the player's fault. I'm not placing blame on the game. This is a Gracious and Glorious, by the way, so hopefully your Moon of Malakar skills are up to the job. You'll notice I carried this from the previous fight into this one, after doing an execution move. And if you didn't see that, it's probably because this was taken from the second run, but I was too busy talking to pay too much attention. So, my strategy against this enemy is going to be the same every time. Wait for him to attack, get a perfect parry, get my witch time, and then fuck him up. The thing that sucks here is this is a bad checkpoint. This is one of the only instances in Bayonetta where the checkpoints are terrible, because you have to fight two of these geezers, and then you go up there and there's 3 Arders waiting for you, and if you fuck up, you have to fight these fellas again. And to your average Bayonetta player, this is really rough, because, you know, Gracious and Glorious are the hardest enemies on the game to a player who doesn't know how to fight them. And then immediately after you're fighting 3 really aggressive, really armoured fellas, so it's tricky. But it can be done, and you're going to see it right now. So the thing that makes this worse is not only are they Arders, but they're also on fire. So if you accidentally attack them out of witch time, you will take damage. You know, it's... I hope it doesn't come back in Bayonetta 2. I truly do. And I've already mentioned that I appreciate what they were trying to do with it. I just don't think it works. It's a little bit like Devil May Cry, the DMC reboot that is it Ninja Theory did. They introduced elemental enemies, and all they did was slow the game down. And it was interesting. It get it some diversity, but in the end, I think it fundamentally failed because these games are about speed. You know, they're not about slow. You've got to go fast. It's just like Sonic said. And I'm getting a lot of leverage out of using the lasso against these enemies, and you'll notice because they're on fire and because they're generally armoured, it seems to keep them like it does with the Gaze of Despair in the radius of the lasso. But one thing that bugs me with Arders is they taunt you, and there's times when, especially when they're on fire like this, if they get stunned, and they get stunned for quite a long time, like, what are you meant to do aside from Wicked Weaves? If you don't have magic power, you can't do anything if they're on fire, except taunt or keep shooting them. And it can be really nerve-wracking waiting for them to recover, because you just can't hit them because, you know, they're on fire. You'd have to change all your weapons to Durga's, or use an Angel Arm, which is what I just did then, but we've got the points up to 9.9, and you should know, if you ever get your combo up to that, you're probably safe on the combo unless it's something really, really silly and insane. All you have to focus now on is not getting hit. So, if you know how much damage your torture attacks do, you know exactly when to do them to get the most out of them. If you're going for score, you want to do them when the enemy has a little bit of life. If you're going for kills, you want to do them when you just past the threshold where you know it will kill them. But if done correctly, you will get the triple platinum, and there we go. So, a tough verse, but in the grand scheme of things, by the time you get here, you're actually going to be really good at the game, or you're going to be much better at fighting than you used to be. Or that's what I felt, anyway. I felt like I'd improved at this point, because the pure platinums were coming with less mistakes, and I was fighting enemies I used to fear quite comfortably. So, that is literally the best part of this kind of playthrough. You will see the improvement, and at first it might seem impossible, it might seem, you know, not even fun, and if I wasn't having fun, I don't think I would have done it. And as frustrated as I got by having to quit out and watch all the bullshit again because the game doesn't have a restart, when I was back in and I was fighting, even when it was hard, it was still really enjoyable. And I think that's the sign of a truly good game. And I think that's why I'm struggling with Devil May Cry 4 at the moment. Because it's, like I've said, it feels old. And it's not that old, it's just, there are certain aspects of the way you play that game that have not aged as well in my mind as I thought they did. But this is an out-of-body experience, so I put the Gaze of Despair on immediately, and we go to town. You'll notice these enemies are on fire, which is going to be something that happens quite often now. It's, I suppose, an artificial difficulty increase. But the cool thing about this is, I got this first attempt, and not only did I get it first attempt, but I was flowing, and the worst thing to do when you're in the flow is to notice. And I do that a lot. I used to do it on Guitar Hero all the time. I would notice I was hitting a killer solo, and then I'd fuck up because I'd noticed it. You know, it's that thing of when you think about something, the anthropic principle of when somebody's watching, it has an effect. And it can do. So whenever I'm in the zone, the cliched, Zen moment of awesomeness, I love it when I don't realise. I love it when afterwards it's almost like, a blankness in my mind and I've just come out of it on top, unscathed and feeling awesome. Because the moment I notice I'm doing something that I'm impressed with, I fuck up. And it reminds me of the lead guitarist out of Annihilator. I think is his name, like Jeff Waters or something. He did a solo for Roadrunners United. It was a project by a label that brought together a bunch of metal bands to make some songs for this Celebration album. And he did this crazy solo for it, and it showed you in the making of DVD him fucking the solo up. And Rob Flynn said to him, at some point my brain just goes blank and I can't do that stuff you're doing. And the guy just responds to him, if I think about it, I couldn't do it. He just has to let his hand do it. And it's that weird disconnect of, just trusting your body. Not using your cognition, not thinking about it, just trusting that reflex and that muscle memory. And it's true. It's really true. But I think this is just standard affinities and some adders. Also, one thing I've not really talked about that you need to be aware of, when you're in Witch Time and people are Gaze of Despair, because you don't stun them so easily, there's a lot of people waiting to attack, and when Witch Time ends, this game is fast. So if they're still attacking, you're going to have to dodge immediately and quickly, because if you don't, you're in trouble, like I am right now. But I got the Bat Within, which, if you ever evade 5 times in a row and get that evade cap, mash evade, because if you do take a hit, chances are you can Bat Within it. It's not graceful, I don't recommend it, but when you're desperate, it's the best thing to do. And that's why I like Gene so much. Gene's got unlimited evades, and it just makes it so much easier to do things. But a lot of people go into Panther Within when they play this game because they mash evade too much. And it's a beginner's trap, guys, mashing evade, and everybody's guilty of it at times. It's a panic button. Whenever I fight Gene, whenever I fight Triple Joys, I'm guilty of panic evading. And if you do that final flip, God, you need to pray sometimes, because you can get stuck in that animation, you can get hit, and sometimes there's nothing you can do. But that was a fun one, that one. This one isn't. These are the fights that I wish didn't exist. So verse 5 is a bunch of decorations. It's not got a massive requirement for anything because you're too busy being blown around by the goddamn wind. And this is where I missed the Alfheim, because the Alfheim is in the jet engine to my left, and I didn't realise. I thought it was just a verse, and then I left and I took on Gene, and boom, I ruined the run. But there is verse 5. Pretty simple stuff, that one. Here is verse 6. Affinities and applauds. The thing to bear in mind here is you're constantly being pushed down this corridor. And when you go near the fans, they do big damage and they ruin the rank. So you want to constantly move away from them. If you can get Witch Time, all the better. If you can do a torture attack, you can get the awesome spinny lance and do this, which is probably my single favourite move in the game. You need to be aware, when you're not in witch time though, enemies can recover and attack through it, especially on Infinite Climax, so you should always be watching your surroundings while you do that move. But there's nothing too challenging about this particular verse, it's just a couple of dudes in an awkward environment. Oh, here comes a trumpet. Oh, interesting. There goes the ground attack. I don't think I've ever been hit by that. It's really flexible. So here comes Trumpet Man. And there's the amazing little fanfare for his trumpet, and you'll notice there's applaud in the background doing a swing, but I managed to stun him, which was good. Here comes the teleport attack. Crazy thrust magic move. And he thrusts directly into a spinny move, so... You can destroy the fans, should you need to. You can also put on the Bangle of Time and use your magic ability to run through them in slow motion. It's entirely up to you how you choose to do that. This is actually quite a difficult Alfheim, because the golems are difficult to keep your chain going, because firing at them sometimes doesn't work. There is a bit of a safe spot against this enemy. If you stay directly under the core, he has trouble hitting you, especially if he turns into the hands, because the hands, obviously, they hit in front of it, they don't hit where it is. It's only stuff like the dragon like that, and a couple of the other manifestations that it's got now. It does a really quick one where it turns into like a centipede, which is very fast, and every part of it, this one, every part of its body, when it's moving right now, is calculated as a weapon. And I'm never a big fan of that. It reminds me of shmups, where when you touch a fucking enemy you take damage. I've always hated that. Yet they never take damage off you. And if I ever make an action game, there will never be you touch the enemy, you take damage. You have to be touched by an attack. It's not cool, man. But this is a lenient Alfheim. The score is not insane. If you're having too much difficulties with it, put the Gaze of Despair on. It'll just make it a lot easier. I managed to grab this without having to put that on. Nothing impressive though. And then it's just Jean, I think. There you go. 1,000 combo points, pretty damn low. And yeah, this is Jean fight. This is really hard, this, folks. I'm not even gonna lie, because I do all that lying normally. But you'll notice I've got Shuraba and Killgore on. Bosses like this, I go into try hard mode, where I'm not going to be using any of the other weapons. I'm going to be using my bread and butter, and I'm going to be sticking to the combos that do the most damage, so I can kill her as fast as possible, because this shit is tough. The thing that sucks here is she has the ability to summon infernal demons, and depending on which one it is will depend on how you have to avoid it, and sometimes you can get hit by them just because you avoided too early or too late. If you can get the Moon of Malakar parry on her, it's super effective, but it's super easy to mess it up as well. And there's no checkpoint on this fight. Every single phase you see now is all one checkpoint. And you have to run all the way back from the Alfheim if you did the Alfheim, or the Gates of Hell if you saved in the Gates of Hell. Because as I've mentioned, if ever you need to make a save point, the only way to do it in this game is to enter Gates of Hell. And if there was more Gates of Hell, it would alleviate a lot of the stress of some of the environments, but alas, what can you do? So you want to shoot her all the time you are not attacking her to keep your combo going, because if you don't, you will fail on combo. If you drop your combo, you better get it back or you will fail on combo. And obviously if you get hit, you'll fail anyway. So this is really where you need to turn it up and do whatever works for you personally. And for me, that is the four Y buttons into kick combo, and then Bangle of Time at the end when I know I've got her dead to my rights. And you can actually use the Bangle of Time a lot in these circumstances, but I tried not to, because it's a bit of a win button at times, but I was getting sick of getting clipped or failing the style requirements, so I shut on her chest with that move instead. And then there's just a couple of pretty simple but eclectic verses coming up. Something to note, in areas like this the water's rising, so if you put down the kid anywhere near the water she'll start getting shocked. If you go anywhere near the water you'll start getting shocked, so you need to be situationally aware if you're going to get this rank. And the combat here, if you can beat Jean, you're not going to have any trouble with anything the game throws at you at this point. Like, there are still tricky verses coming up, but a couple of harmonies and a couple of adders, you know, it does not a difficult verse make once you know how to fight them. And I've made a mistake. I don't know if you've noticed, but everything is gazed because I'm still wearing the Gaze of Despair, it would seem. So that must mean I had the Gaze of Despair on during the Jean fight, which can't be true because she didn't have a red face. Maybe I put it on just for this and I edited it out. Maybe they're not gazed, maybe they're just on fire, but they looked gazed to me. Yeah, they definitely look gazed. So, this is a very slow projectile move they can do. They can do a super fast one as well. The fast one is wickedly dangerous, the slow one is completely pointless. And you want to pick up Cereza and move her towards wherever the doors are. That way you have less to worry about. Not that it voids your rank if she takes damage, but it keeps giving you like a little pan with the camera when she does take damage, and it makes it annoying to watch. But here's the adder getting really mad at me. There's the bat within. Do you notice how I still haven't stunned him? Just to show how much fortitude they get when you wear that piece of equipment or you taunt them. But there goes verse 9. There goes the kiss. And there goes the ranking. So verse 9 is down. On to the next one. Ooh, this is a weird one. This is another instance where the water is rising and you're up against a shit ton of harmonies. Problem with harmonies is it's difficult sometimes to see when they're attacking. However, the good thing about them is if you can lasso them when they're in a crowd, you will get massive points. However, sometimes they block the camera so you can't actually see Bayonetta to know which direction to press to get the lasso. So when you ever see me do the 360Y technique where she does the spin and the snake goes into the sky, that is always a mistake unless it's in the middle of a combo where I'm not using the lasso. But just look at this move. If you can chain it right, you can get insane style points. It's almost as ridiculous as killgore for boosting your style points. Also, if you don't want to lasso people because they're not in range, and you want to let go of them, just stop holding the button and Bayonetta will sling them. It's the best way to cancel any failed attempts at rodeoing enemies into other enemies. But I think this is the final verse of the level. I could be wrong though. There goes the chainsaw execution. Mash that Y button, get that max bonus. Yeah, that's the end of that one. Just have to pick up Cereza and then get the hell out of dodge. There's your pure platinum. Is there anything left? No, there's not. That is the end of the level, guys. So it's a tough one, but it's a short one in some ways, because a lot of them are very quick. It's just a handful of them could keep you stuck for a while, namely Jean, or Jean. She's so ridiculously tough. But thank you very much for watching, and you take care now.